recognized symbol of excellence for your entertainment.
I just wanna watch TV. My baby's giving me a lobotomy.
Welcome to Machino Music Music, the show that puts the music in Machino music, with your host, me, Brett Strong. Today on Machino Music Music is part one of my 20 favorite punk albums. Oi! Good afternoon, everybody. My 20 favorite punk albums, that's what we're doing here today. This is going to be 20 through 11. Next week will be the top 10. One album per band. I tried not to have too many overrun from my 20 favorite new wave albums because, sometimes punk and new wave can kind of be one and the same, kind of overlap with each other. At least that's the rules I'm going with. I should also say I was never really a big fan of the 90s and early 2000s punk. So, if you don't hear, what about Green Day? What about Offspring? What about Rancid? What about it doesn't matter, okay? Never really was my bag. And there's no rules for punk, really. So I don't know why I'm telling you rules anyway. But, as far as the 90s, I didn't hate it, but didn't love it. So that's what we're going with here. And again, these are my favorites. If you don't hear your favorite, just like I already explained, don't worry about it. You don't have to go on oh, you're a poser, you're a poo-poo head, I can't believe you. It doesn't matter. There are no rules, but there are some rules. Okay? So let's get into it here. Actually, I don't have copies of all of these, so we're just going to, whatever. Just going to show the thing. All right, so let's get into it here. Starting at number 20. Fear, the Record. Insane album. I first heard of Fear through Saturday Night Live. There's that infamous episode from 1981. The show's not doing well. Gene Domanian's still the producer of the show. They wanted, or actually I think Dick Ebersol may have started, whatever. But they wanted to get John Belushi back on the show. John Belushi had a movie out called Neighbors. It's kind of a punk rock movie. And the whole thing with this band Fear. He was into this band Fear. He wanted them on the soundtrack. They didn't get on the soundtrack. Studio, I want nothing of it. But he said, I will appear on Saturday Night Live if Fear, my favorite band, is a musical guest. This happened. Donald Pleasance, promoting Halloween 2, I believe, was the host of the show. It was a Halloween episode. And, yeah, Fear basically tore the dump apart. Started a whole riot in 30 Rock. They didn't know what to do. At the end of the performance, the camera just goes to black. Insane performance. So that's how I became aware of the band Fear. This record is insane, called The Record. Just so good. Punk classic. Classic record. One of my favorite songs. I love it. I love Living in the City. So good. Got a sense of humor about it, kind of ironic. You're kind of explaining all the things that are most people go, oh, why would you want to live there? Barf all over the street, pee all over the street, the whole place stinks. Why would you want to live there? God, that's what's funny about the song. It's you love living here, even though it's just a disaster area. Very much 70s, even to the early 80s, New York City kind of song. Dig it. Yeah. Fear the Record. All right, coming up next, I'm going Generation X. Generation X. Generation X was Billy Idol's first band. Never a huge fan of Billy Idol when he went solo in the 80s, kind of did more of the new wave thing, was all kind of a bit of a punk edge. He was almost kind of heavy metal sort of too. Never a huge fan. I like some of the tunes. But Generation X, this debut record, so good. Really good album. I mean, this was the band. I mean, they were kind of like the next coming of like the British punk. And so good. Not much you can say about this. Generation X also has some other really good albums as well. Their second record, I believe, has the original version of Dancing With Myself, which Billy Idol would, of course, do solo later on. If you hear little peeps, just pointing this out, it's my little cat, Christina, trying to get into the room. My cat's named after Christina Aguilera. How punk is that? My cat being named after Christina Aguilera. All right, moving on. This is a really cool one. 7 Seconds, Walk Together, Rock Together. Now this album I heard about through the memoir by WWE superstar, legend, Hall of Famer, Amy Lita Dumas. Big punk fan. She thought that was one of her favorite. That was a big spit I just did right there. Even read in a magazine. She kept talking about this album, Walk Together, Rock Together. I'm like, I gotta hear this thing. What is this all about? And found it's this really cool, like really sort of hardcore punk album. Great energy. They do a cover of 99 Luftballons, or 99 Red Balloons. That was the English version. By Nena, which is like a big hit, like a hit at the time. It wasn't all that old. It's 85 this album came out, so that was a pretty new tune, and here they are doing this insane punk version of it. Really cool, just dig it. Love the energy of it. So thank you to Amy Lita Dumas. When I met her, I should have mentioned that to her, like, hey, you got me into 7 Seconds, Walk Together, Rock Together. Great album, dig it. Had to be on here. All right, next I'm going the Dickies, the incredible Shrinking Dickies. This band, actually, I thought they were British. I know something about Leonard Graves Phillips, the lead singer, I thought was British. First saw the video they did for the Banana Splits theme song. First time I learned ever about the Banana Splits, like, what was this? And then I eventually saw reruns of that show. Yeah, really cool. That's on a reissue of this particular album, The Incredible Shrinking Dickies. They do a lot of weird covers on here. They do a cover of Black Sabbath Paranoid, which is actually a lot of fun. I mean, it could be done. They did like this strange cover of it. I'm actually starting to prefer that a bit more than the original Black Sabbath version, the classic original, because, you know, I think I've heard the Black Sabbath version so much, kind of want to hear these different cover versions, even versions, so I'm actually starting to like that one a bit more. Another really cool thing about the Dickies that I found out, they were the first punk band to ever be shown on network primetime television. There was a show called CPO Sharky. It was a sitcom starring Don Rickles, famous insult comic Don Rickles, Mr. Warmth. And it was the first sitcom to depict the punk music scene that was going on at the time. This was on network television in prime time. And the show's on Tubi, but it's the only one episode that's not available on Tubi. Tubi's got everything. But they're missing episodes of this show. I don't know, is there something wrong with this episode? I found it online, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. Found it here on YouTube, but why is it not on Tubi? I can watch the entire series, and you know, I can see the punk episode, because you know, whatever. Come on, what's going on, Tubi? But yeah, that's a pretty cool thing about the Dickies. They were the first punk band to ever be shown on network television. Yeah, really fun album. Really love the Dickies. They're probably most famous for doing the theme song to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is got like an even bigger cult movie than ever was now. But if you hear that song, oh, who did that? That was the Dickies. So you had to have that record. All right, coming in next, number 16. Actually, these are not ranked in a particular way. I didn't say that. It just gives me an opportunity to talk about these. But anyway, they're numbered. So number 16 is X-Ray Specs Germ-Free Adolescence. Groundbreaking album. Groundbreaking band. They were a one-and-done band, but they put out this great, amazing record. Polystyrene, the lead singer of X-Ray Specs, trailblazer. It's a Somali, Scottish, Irish woman. Amazing. Why nobody talks about her is whatever. Trailblazer. Look her up, Polystyrene. Such a great album. The energy on it is insane. They have horns on it, which is really cool. So kind of like even kind of going where New Wave kind of went with like the, even adding in more, like adding like the ska thing. They were kind of predated that, having a horn section on punk music. Great album. The Day the World Turned Dayglow. Dig that tune. So much fun. Yeah, so I had to have X-Ray Specs, Germ-Free Adolescence. Classic record. If you ever heard it, definitely check that one out. All right, coming up next, this is a Canadian band. I had to include these guys from Vancouver. DOA, Something Better Change. Fantastic album. Great debut. I mean, they have so many albums, and really good albums. Hardcore 81 I also could have gone with. Their second record, really good. But tell me about this one. I mean, it's like not a sinker in the bowl. Every song is great on this. Led by Joe Keithley, or Joey Shithead. Yeah, that's his punk name. Love that. Joey Shithead Keithley. My favorite song on this album, and this song really got me in, and I think about this song like almost every day now, actually. World War III. I mean, anytime you hear something on the news that it's all going down, this song goes in my head. I put it on, it goes in my head, and it's just like, it's happening. It's one of the only songs actually written about World War III becoming a thing, and it's just the energy of it is completely insane. And it's all talking about all the stuff that's still happening. All the same countries invading each other. It's just never going to end. Crazy. So yeah, DOA, Something Better Change, fantastic record, and a Canadian band. All right, next up, I'm going another pretty obscure one, The Effigies, Inc. This is their third record. Effigies, really cool band. When I discovered this album, I was like, whoa, this is really good. The energy on this is a bit heavier. It's from the 80s. Really cool. A couple of really good Effigies records, but this one is just like, whoa. Never heard anything like this before. That's the thing, why I don't have actually a lot of these albums to show is these are like so impossible to find. Like if you could find like an Effigies, people are like asking too much money for them, so it's almost impossible to find really good copies of these. Vinyl, CD, whatever. I don't want to shell out that kind of scratch. But yeah. So really cool record. Effigies, Inc., their third album. And talking about one that's almost impossible to find, I even saw one on Amazon that was like ridiculously overpriced. I'm going to Amazon to find out of print punk albums. But The Germs, GI. Whoa. Again, another one and done. And this band is best remembered for having Pat Smear, now of the Foo Fighters, being, he was in this band. That's how he started out. That's how long the guy's been around. The guy's a legend. He's now a living legend. And that's how, like, why Dave Grohl went, oh, that's the dude from the Germs. Gotta have him in Foo Fighters. He's actually brought into Nirvana very late in the, sort of like an extra guitar player towards the end there. But yeah, so good. And Joan Jett produced this album. Joan Jett, the godmother of punk herself. There she is. Great album. The hell if you could find a copy of it, but yeah. The Germs, GI, just a classic. Like another song, the songs are like really, they're all just like 2 minutes long. It's fantastic. The energy's insane. Great record. Okay, I have copies of these next two. I'm going whole. Live Through This. Now you can say this is not a punk album. Actually, their first album, Pretty on the Inside, their debut, is actually more punk than this one. But this one has the most impact. And I wanted to include this album. I remember the first time I heard Miss World. Nirvana had, Kurt Cobain, I think, had just, ended his life. That whole big thing. He really kind of brought at least punk energy back, and they started calling it grunge. But still, it's punk, basically. It's alternative music. So when they started calling it alternative music, because they didn't know what to call it, all these different subgenres and everything. But he just ended his life, and Nirvana was no longer a thing. And then I heard this record, I heard Miss World. I was like, what is this? I've never heard anything like this. I was never big into Nirvana, I will admit that. And especially, oh, you didn't really like the woman who killed him. That's conspiracy theory. She did it! Okay, whatever. But, I just remember hearing Miss World, and then Violet was another huge hit off of this, and I was like, who is this band? Who is this woman? Who is Courtney Love? And yeah, this is just a fantastic record. Plump is probably my favorite song on the album. I mean, that's like a total punk tune. Same with Gutless was another really punk tune. Doll Parts on here, that was another one that was like a big hit. You see the video for that all the time. Yeah. Just an impact on this record. Yeah, the first album, the debut's, probably more punk. Could have gone with that, but I wanted to go with Live Through This, because, again, the most impact. I mean, I just remember, to me, nothing sounded like this. And there's Courtney Love on the back as a little girl. There you go. Alright, closing out part one, I'm going Devo. Are we not men? We are Devo. Yeah, can you call Devo a punk band? I don't really call them a punk band. I would say they're like the quintessential new wave band. They kind of started a new wave thing. But if you're going to call Devo a punk band, this is their most punk album. There's still some punk on Duty Now for the Future, which is my favorite Devo album. There's still maybe a little bit of them in New Traditionalists. But by about Duty Now for the Future, especially in the New Traditionalists, they were total new wave. They're figured it out, doing their own thing. But this is very raw, very different. I mean, Uncontrollable Urge is a total punk song. That's like a holdover standing from their hardcore stuff, which again is not really totally punk, the hardcore compilations. But again, more punk than what Devo would eventually become. But yeah, Uncontrollable Urge though, total punk tune. Praying Hands kind of has that feel to it. The mutation of I Can't Get No Satisfaction, their Rolling Stones cover, I mean, the punk energy definitely is on that. I mean, it's going to get more punk than that, so, definitely the energy is there. Too Much Paranoia, kind of a punk tune. Space Junk, love the energy on that. Come Back Johnny, great tune. Yeah. More of this, I think this album more is like an energy. And definitely fits in the conversation as a great punk album. And it got them banned from Saturday Night Live. Forever. For good. Because, one of the most punk moments that ever happened on Saturday Night Live. And, yeah, it got them banned. Really doesn't get any more punk than that. So, yeah, I thought I'd include this one. So there you go. That is 20 through 11 of my favorite punk albums. Again, these are not ranked in a particular way. You can say, oh, it's not punk, whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter. But next week is the top 10. We'll see how that turns out. We got to get there first. That's it for this week. Until we meet again, this is Brett Strong saying good journey.